I feel moved and inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I right there with you. Rest in peace, Sophie.
I don't even understand it, but I'm moved.
It's okay to cry. Hello and welcome to Renegades of the Podcast, a monthly podcast for all of the aliens, hosted by us, Unheard, Sirens, Incorporated. I am Remy.
I am Juliet.
That's right, and this is our monthly podcast. We are a husband and wife duo, and we make pop music from an alternate universe. If you haven't heard our music before, again, we are musicians. You should definitely check out some of that.
I got a fetish for freedom tonight. Don't even know which way I go. All that I know's I'm about to blow. I got a fetish for freedom tonight.
Now we're going to go into our segment,
Pop Portal.
Pop Portal, which it's actually says unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but it's been a year since we've done our last Pop Portal.
Really?
The anniversary date just came up, and I didn't know it'd been that long between these things. It will not be that long between the next one, we promise. But yeah.
And we like Pop Portal.
We love Pop Portal. This is a segment where we delve into popular artists and pop or alternative pop, what's going on with people what's trending, really going on with people that are younger than us. I've heard of these artists, but I'm not familiar with them. And some of these I hadn't. I literally only know like the name of them, and that's all I know. But we like to delve into this music for the first time and give you our honest thoughts and
and think about how it all connects, because we're doing this sort of synthwave, synth pop thing, and we call Unheard, Sirens Incorporated pop music from an alternate universe. Yeah. And so we're also exploring the pop music from this universe, which we are such underground music kids that we don't necessarily know all the pop. We know things that were pop when we were little.
Things are far from the pulse of that,
Yeah, I mean, we're both just listening to so many subculture genres, and we've both been radio DJs. You've been radio DJ for more than a decade. I was a radio DJ for 6 years. We know a lot of music.
Yeah, we do.
But there's just so many music creators, and being in like the synth genre and, creating music that we claim to be pop music, it's good for us to think about other pop artists and what pop means to people, because we are very much underground subculture artists doing pop, which is a little weird, and
it is. It's new.
So this is a really good segment for kind of pulling together mainstream and subculture, because pop people are also exploring subculture things. So some of the pop portal artists that we've looked at were like Billie Eilish and Youngblood.
Yeah, was the first two, and also like some of the more interesting, like edgy things are going on in pop right now. Like some of the quote unquote alternative and quote unquote rock are kind of just spinning their wheels, doing the same things over and over and over again. Yeah, so I mean, you never know where you're going to get like this sort of rebelliousness and experimentation, and I feel like we're going to talk about Sophie, and that's obviously first of all,
an icon of pop rebelliousness.
This is exciting to me because that's a genre that I've been wanting us to explore on this for a while. Is hyperpop. And we at first, I had
never even heard of hyperpop before we started talking about our podcast and what we were going to do with all this.
Yeah. I should preface by first saying, so I knew I wanted to explore hyperpop, but there are a few artists I knew of who were big in the hyperpop world, and I didn't know who I wanted to start with. So I put the call out to you, our fans and our followers, and I put a poll up. I was like, I put three of the heavy hitters. I put 100 Gex, Charlie XCX, and Sophie in a poll, and you guys voted for who to vote for next. And you guys kind of helped and didn't, because you guys a lot of you chimed in on it. And after you guys chimed in on the poll, I kid you not, dead heat, 3-way tie.
Wow!
Between Sophie, Charlie XCX, and 100 Gex. So what I'm going to do, I was going to break up.
We'll eventually do them all.
Exactly. I was going to break it up and do another artist that isn't hyperpop. But I'm thinking, since we got such a great response there, our next couple pop portals are going to be the other two artists. Portal. It's going to be hyperpop portal for a bit, so strap in.
Strap on.
We're going to have some fun. I said we're going to have some fun after we
Cheeky.
talk about strap-ons. Yay, it's that kind of show.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all. So, yeah, I figured, so because it was a dead heat, I figured, I was like thinking about it, I was like, okay, screw it. I'm going to go with the person who's not only like credited with kind of informing hyperpop and what the genre really became,
hyperpop,
and really creating it and working with a lot of the other artists as well, but also an artist who has a finite catalog because unfortunately they are no longer with us. And I'm talking about the legendary Sophie, Scottish artist. I think it's Sophie Xeon. It's Xeon, is what I said on the Wikipedia. A trans femme artist. I think they don't like gendered or non-binary pronouns, so I'm just going to refer to Sophie as Sophie, and let that be that. So yeah, Sophie, kind of electronic artist, kind of started in the 2010s ish, and was very anonymous for a while. And I picked 6 selections from Sophie's career, and we are going to talk about Sophie right now. So, like, overall, I'll ask you first, because I'm very curious about what you thought, because I feel like, it could go one of two ways, as far as your taste. So, like, what were your overall thoughts of music of Sophie?
Yeah, so I hear a lot of music in watching a lot of different film and television things. I like to watch a lot of creators, and there's a lot of club scenes, and there's a lot of really interesting soundtrack placement. So I feel like my ear is exposed through those kinds of ways way more, because I'm not listening to pop music stations of current pop music, and I haven't been since the late 90s when I was an underground DJ doing like goth and industrial and electronica and all of those things. I stopped listening to anything pop at that point in any way. So it's mainly getting to me through soundtracks. So there were things that I'm picking up and listening to Sophie's music for the first time to prepare for talking about it on this podcast. I never listened to Sophie that I knew of. I might have, something's played, but I didn't know that's this artist. And it was like, oh, this is really interesting. And then there were very different vocalists across different tracks that we were listening to. And I was like, so who's this person? And then finally, like, there's one where there's a music video for the face one.
Yeah. It's okay to cry.
Shop my face.
Face shop. Yeah, right.
Shopping.
Which is the
it's like, but it's obviously a face, like being shopped.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, YouTubed and Photoshopped and all the things. So, and I was like, what's happening? And then the next one was Pony Boy, which is like, I don't know, people on, like, young people on stage and kind of like a dark S&M high school talent show gone wrong kind of music video. And I was like, and then It's Okay to Cry. And I was just like, oh, this is a trans artist? What? Who is the singer? Oh my God. What person uses this? I was just so confused. I'm like, who is Sophie? And so then luckily there was like, a special that... Yeah,
I put a documentary.
Yeah, a documentary on YouTube.
So for background for everybody, what I usually do for Pop Portal is I'll compile like between 5 and 6 tracks. I'll do either a playlist. I'll do a playlist.
Some music videos.
So usually with the music videos, and I try to do it in like chronological order so that we get kind of a piece of like the trajectory of where the artist...
Who the artist was and then where they've
that kind of
gone,
thing.
yeah.
And with Sophie, I think there's only like those 2 full music videos, and the rest were just like a simple, the cover art visualizer thing. And
is Pony Boy an official music video?
Yes.
Yeah, and then the face shopping, and then
the face shopping.
To Cry.
Right.
So
okay, so there's 3. Okay, yeah. So, but anyway, so I'll usually do that, but with this one, I kind of changed it up just a bit, and maybe I'll continue to do this going forward. But I tacked on a cool video because I don't know how many of you guys know the channel Trash Theory on YouTube. Really awesome music documentary, mostly focused on like British artists.
Very good.
I love his
background
stuff.
on hyperpop.
Fantastic, and he
that was really
he did
helpful.
a video about Sophie and about creating.
It's wonderful.
And
so
it's fantastic.
Thank goodness that.
So I had to tack that on. I wanted to give you some background and some information after you listen to the music and you got that. So like
so I listened to all the music, and he hadn't revealed the documentary
I'll link
to
the
me yet.
Trash Theory video down below if you guys want to watch
It's good. So then I just saw that after doing like another listen through, and I'd listened to a few other things that came up of Sophie's because I was intrigued after listening to these 6 tracks that we selected, and I was like, what's going on? What is this?
Yeah, I was the same way. I was listening to the tracks because I think before we did this Pop Portal, I think I had seen the video for "It's Okay to Cry" before, so I knew who Sophie like looked like, what they sounded like. But then going to the earlier tracks, I'm like, okay, this is either a different. You're either using a different vocalist or you're pitching your voice up like way higher to not even sound like you. Yeah.
But it, yeah. I guess the first 2 tracks were like so weird, kind of bubblegum-y, and then I like the kinds of like industrial noise sound effects that start getting brought in to the music. That was really interesting. And then like "It's Okay to Cry," I'm like, what genre is this? What happened? This is like a totally different thing than everything else.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. I kind of liked the track. So, overall I was like, I stay intrigued. And the pop tracks, the poppy pop tracks are growing on me a little more, and the documentary gives me a lot more context for what hyperpop is and like what was going on within the things that Sophie was trying to do and the artists that Sophie was collaborating with is very, very interesting. And, very, very tragic that Sophie had an accident at the age of 34 and just died from a fall.
Trying to take a picture of the moon. Fell off her off their balcony.
Yeah. So, it is really interesting. It's definitely someone who was not coming at it trying to be anyone else, but was building on life experience and possibility and interest and being very passionate and not wanting to play into a lot of typical things. So for the first few years of Sophie's career, nobody was quite sure who Sophie was or what the background was. There was a lot of, that's not what it's about. I just want to put out music. I just want to do what I'm doing. And I respect that. I respect that it was not about rump shaking, because there's so much pop music that's just about getting like really beautiful women that can make music to wear as little as possible and just to sort of simulate sexuality and sex on stage all the time for everybody. Yeah. And that aspect of pop, that kind of like, Shakira kind of, you just gotta be, and Britney, and there was just like for so long, it seemed like pop to me was so anti-feminist because they were constantly objectifying themselves into complete and total sex object meaninglessness, and that the singing and the quality and the message and the words and the backing tracks, the music behind the singing, like actually none of it mattered. It's just people that want to be on stage in front of hundreds of thousands of millions of people and have everybody fantasize that they're fucking them. And that is just abhorrent to me. That's so not at all why I'm existing as an artist or what I want to do or why I'm showing up. And pop became something that I just wanted to puke all over it all the time through the 2000s and into the 2010s. And Sophie was rebelling against a lot of movements of pop and was like, no, hard no. Yeah. Hard stop. Was not even known who Sophie was for years. And that, I think, gives me a lot of curiosity and respect for listening to more. So I think I'll continue to listen to Sophie's music past the reviews that we were, the prep that we're doing to kind of talk about this today.
No, my overall thoughts on Sophie's music, I really like it. I am really, I think I love a couple of the tracks, and I on the first listen, I was like, yeah, there's definitely some like standouts and stuff. Like, I think Bip is the first one. Like, I think I catch of all the tracks. Like, I think there's really good stuff, really redeeming. Like, I've never heard anything like this. Like the stuff that even like the construction of the beats, the way they're like just sound so different to my ears. Like the the industrial, like the buzzing sounds, but like the bubble pops and stuff like that. And it does not sound like other dancey, bassy club music at all. Like it's even like the first track we listened to, which was Vizzy, VYZZZEE. Even that one, like the beat started like throw me kind of listening to it because I'm like just the construction of it.
I was trying to imagine people in a club actually dancing to these songs, and I just felt puzzled.
Yeah,
I felt
totally.
like I have no idea
how
pop clubs that are spinning this. How are people moving to this? It's like and like weird overtuned. And it sounded like QT, and it's really funny because there's like a character QT in the song or whatever, or an artist.
No,
QT.
there's another hyperpop artist.
But in
QT.
Space Dandy,
there's
a character robot called QT who your entire voice is auto-tune, and I'm the robot. And there's like a breakout part in one of the songs that sounded like QT the robot from Space Dandy was singing it because it was like auto-tuned in the same way, and that's done as like kind of satire, like very tongue-in-cheek. That's
what I'm getting from like
of Space Dandy, and I'm familiar with that. And then I hear this music that's kind of sourcing or heading kind of in the same way. But one of the things in the documentary about Sophie is that some people thought that because it takes it so far, this hyperpop, it's like all the way to the height of like tuning and weird playing with what auto-tuning does to voices when you have glides and up and downs in the voices and like what happens there. And it's like, was that satire? And like Sophie responded, why would you put that much effort into anything if the whole point is just to make fun of something? Like, why not just make something you want to make? Like Sophie was just curious, like interested in that sound. I really hate that voice breakout. That sounds like QT. It's hard on my ears.
Yeah, that was not my favorite part.
Very
that song. Immaterial is, I think, what you're talking about.
Yeah, and Immaterial.
And where it goes like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't enjoy it.
On one level, like,
but I understand why Sophie might have been playing around with it. It's kind of like a modern art piece where you're like, well, I don't want it hanging on my dining room wall. Yeah. But I understand how this is like a thing that occurs in this this very avant-garde kind of modern art way of like, here's one of the things that we can do. What does it sound like if you do all of this, No,
I echo that sentiment for sure. Like that's one of the things I'm getting from the very little bit of that I'm getting from the hyperpop world is I don't like sonically, I don't love the super auto-tune, but like I kind of understand it's kind of the almost punk rock mentality that comes from like taking it to that degree of like,
you can just tune it.
But it's not like where it's like, T-Pain or something where it's like I can't sing, so I'm just going to use this. It's like it's deliberately over auto-tuning it to create a certain effect. It's not trying to sound like
playing with gender vocals, by actually pitching the voice up, even when it was Sophie singing on some tracks that Sophie would be pitched up to sound even more femme than the natural voice, as the natural voice was, in between registers of like not deep male, not super high female, in the middle. But then there's other things pitching it up or working with other female artists. And and then that Immaterial song, like you can't as a pop artist sing material, even if it's immaterial. You can't hear the I am of immaterial very well. It's just immaterial. And so it just sounds like Madonna Material World. And then it was interesting in the documentary because it was saying Sophie worked with Madonna and helped Madonna to create like a comeback hit. And then later also worked with Lady Gaga and helping Lady Gaga to do something fresh. And I'm like, I can see this. I can see in like Immaterial, I felt like was a little bit cheeky. Like obviously it's going to be like ear candy sort of ringing on the Material World, like Material Girl. Like you cannot hear Material, even if you add something like M at the beginning. I can't hear the M. I just hear Material. And so then it's just harkening back to sort of old pop with Madonna, but then Sophie was doing something new and radical in some ways, and then getting farmed out to go work with Madonna, to work with Lady Gaga, to bring these older pop artists back into the now again in a new way because of hearing things and doing things that were completely different and fresh. So I super respect that. My ear is still a little bit like, what? but I will listen to more. I am very intrigued.
No, I am
to see a club full of people that love this music dance to. I'm just gonna be like, what are you doing? How are you dancing to this? Please show me, because I have danced to a lot of music for a long time. I am definitely a club person and a dance person, and that was the hardest thing for me. Is like listening to something that's this different in the sounds, the beats, the loops, what's there, what's not there, the construction of the songs, the way the voice and everything is constructed. It's just a little bizarre, and I don't know how it all works. To dance in a club.
Yeah,
I'm just not
for
sure
sure.
how.
But like I'm so like in awe of it. I'm very intrigued because I'm like, I think I've just heard what the future is. This sounds like the future to me more than anything else. Because like just so much about just like again, it is exactly what the genre on the genre name is so perfect. It's like it is hyper
pop. Yeah,
it's like
more pop than pop.
This is it. It is more pop than pop, indeed. But I think,
and what a beautiful creator.
Yeah.
You know, as a person,
goodness,
what a beautiful creator. So I did not know that anything about Sophie, so didn't know the background, didn't know that person's identity, and so getting to know this person through the tracks that we selected, and then the documentary about Sophie's life and the background and the hyperpop movement and stuff was just like very inspiring, and you know, lots of respect and love too.
I'm super intrigued by like even what little visual content there was. Like the face shopping video is like a crazy work of art. I was trying to like understand it. Like the cutting together the lyrics and the morphing.
I don't even know what the lyrics mean.
I think what it makes me feel like there's a lot of like cuts of like corporate logos in there.
When I shop
and like
my face. I don't know.
I think it's like some combo of like commentary on like capitalism and like having to put your face out there, which we know that Sophie.
I was also thinking about
resisted doing
people
for so
that
long.
shop for their face,
but
because
also
they are going to get work done, which is also a part of a lot of gender transition and trans rights. Is that people will be shopping for their parts,
but also like.
So there was that layer. That's not the only meaning, but that was one layer of meaning.
Also, I think,
and also when dating sites were shopping other people's faces, and people are shopping our faces because they're just swiping.
That too.
And so we're shopping faces. Like, oh, do I want to meet up with that person? Do I want to hook up with that person? And it's just a face. It's so dehumanizing and icky, and I despise it. But it's
like
such a phenomenon.
Sophie maybe using Photoshop for their own face to feel more close to whatever the gender.
And then there's the photoshopping, shopping the face with Photoshop as another part. There's so many layers
there,
to
like
what the face
like,
shopping was about. That was like
it's all,
what?
That's what I'm saying.
This
like,
is kind of amazing.
I feel like,
and we went to MoMA, to the Modern Museum of Art in New York, to see a whole floor was given over to Bjork's work and Bjork's catalog and her film work and her art and her collage and her costuming and her persona and her music and documentaries and music videos, and it was just like the world of Bjork in like one. It was like, oh my god! And the face shopping video to me felt a lot like being in the Modern Museum of
it felt
Art,
like a museum piece.
Looking at Bjork's stuff in the context of modern art. I felt like that face shopping, is that the
face
name?
Because
it's like she keeps moving the words around, so I can't remember if I have the title in the right word order or not. So face shopping felt to me like MoMA is going to end up having like a floor of Sophie, and it's going to have this because it's a commentary on so many different things, and the style of that music video. I wish Sophie had been with us longer and was still able to be, creating more work, because what an amazing avant-garde being Sophie was.
I feel like Sophie, just the work we've gotten, so of the little sample that we got that we took in for this podcast,
amazing.
Sophie's work is on a whole nother level, a whole nother planet. I feel like we just need to catch up because we're not there yet. I don't know that I do want to create work like Sophie's.
I don't.
But you can take influence from stuff. You can take influence from things, even if you're not that genre. You can always be. But maybe that's a new way to think.
I have. Yeah.
Like I would never heavily auto-tune our vocals just because, like that just doesn't. That doesn't
in an
please
sort of
my ear personally. But I respect that thing about hype. I respect the that part of the hyperpop thing, even if I don't necessarily like love it myself. But still like so many of Sophie's hooks like got into my head and like, oh, that's an earworm. I'm still singing it. I've only heard this song once, and I'm like, it's there. It's still there. And also on a second listen through, like I started to tear up a bit. Like I started to like it started to affect me like emotionally, especially like I know like It's Okay to Cry is like kind of like the so like the most like pop ballady of her of Sophie's material, of not necessarily like the most like hyper pop or the most like edgy stuff, but like it still like affected me in a way. And I'm thinking like I started to think like while listening, I'm like, should we do a cover? It's 80s ballady enough that it could. I think it could work. Like, and it is really good. Like just really great songwriting. Like I think it's all there.
Happen.
Yeah. So yeah. Really liking what I've heard, and like I think like hyperpop portal is going to be fun the next few months down the line. It's going to be very interesting to delve into the other couple artists on the list, 100 Gex and Charlie XCX. Not sure which one we'll do first, but stay tuned for that. But yeah, I would say I am a Sophie fan. I'm interested to delve a little bit more into the back catalog that Sophie
I will go to MoMA for that exhibit.
R.I.P.
I want a whole exhibit. I want everything I can get about Sophie, because I'm not sure how much musically it would influence me, conceptually as an artist and as a being, as a creator.
Right. Yeah.
I feel moved and inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same. Definitely. Yeah. No, I right there with you. As we're not allowed to have nice things, I guess. Some people just leave entirely too soon, and she was definitely one of the people who left entirely too soon.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I don't know why it makes me so sad.
No, yeah. I'm same.
Yeah. Even though I'm like, I don't know what to make of this music, but this is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So definitely profound.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep.
Rest in peace, Sophie.
I don't even understand it, but I'm moved.
It's okay to cry. And I think we'll go to that track now. Here on our music break, we have to go.
Thank you. Wherever you are. Off
Sophie.
in the cosmos with Bowie and Tina Turner.
Yes.
Having some kind of awesome avant-garde concert.
I think Bowie would definitely be a fan of Sophie if Bowie had ever gotten like.
Yeah. They'd be collaborating.
Bowie would be like, I need to do something like that. Because Bowie was always like looking for what the next thing was. Always on the what the avant-garde was.
Yeah.
He was listening to like Kendrick Lamar when he was writing Black Star. So like, yeah.
Yep. Be all about
that. He totally would be. I hope he's partying up.
They're out in the cosmos in whatever parallel dimensions, like doing amazing collabs. So that's what I'll be thinking.